Just thank you again for this day that you blessed us with. We just thank you for the freedom that we have in our country to meet and serve the people of Henry County. We pray for each member here tonight. We pray that everything we do and say be best for Henry County. We just pray for the men and women that's sacrificing their lives daily that we have this freedom. We pray for the police officer in Lee County that is in critical condition. We just pray, Father, for his healing tonight. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This machine's not working right.
There's a little nippy in here, like, better be so mad at us.
And nobody was in here. And you can't.
Something happened?
Bear with us 1 minute. We're having technical difficulties, so just give us a few minutes here.
I didn't kick the wire loose on there, did I? Want to plug it in?
Does it have power?
Somebody break out an iPhone.
Oh, the switch is
Record
off.
it.
Switch needs to be turned off. Hit the switch. Power. Is it the recorder or the mic? Recorder. Take shorthand.
Steve
I'll
can,
take that as a no.
Steve can do it.
Hey, do they still do that? Is that taught anymore? Yeah. They don't teach cursive anymore, do they?
No.
You had to do that at
I think
home.
they give up trying to teach me.
That what stopped it?
Yeah.
Got it,
Got it?
got it.
Very good. Roll call, please, ma'am.
This is the regular meeting of the Henry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, July 24, 2018 at 5 p.m. in the County Commissioners Chambers in LaBelle, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Byrd, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Mike Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Charles Chapman, County Attorney Mark Lapp, Clerk Barbara Butler.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, there was some information that was on here about the meeting for the PUD in Pioneer. If you're here tonight for that, that is going to be heard on August the 14th. Eagle Canal, I'm sorry. The Eagle Canal in Clewiston on August the 14th. So if you came for that tonight, we apologize. The hearing will be August 14th in Clewiston. So you're welcome to stick around, but if that's what you come for, just wanted to make sure you didn't spend your night without a purpose. So thank you all so much. First thing we have is bids. Bid 2018-15, apron rehabilitation at the Bell Airport.
I move we accept the low bid from Wright Construction.
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Swindle, second from Commissioner Harris. Is there any further discussion?
I think I think it's good to see a new entity being awarded a contract, and I think it's representative of the market. So, yeah, good.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Take us to the consent agenda.
Move to accept.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion?
Not, just a quick clarification on the item E, the COPCN. Was there any other applicants? There was not?
sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Missing anything? It's going to take us to awards and appearances. Mr. Mandel, I'll get you in a few minutes. I want to get our county, if you would, Ms. Sands, come down. Come on.
First up on the agenda. I'm Lisa Sands, Hendry Glades Manager for United Way, and I'm just here tonight to say thank you to the Hendry County employees. Each year, our United Way raises funds for social service agencies in Hendry and Glades counties. Our goal last year was $322,400, and with the help of the Hendry County staff, out of their personal pay, they raised $2,250 in our last campaign. So I'm just here to say thank you, and I have an award to present. It says, "For making our community a better place for all of us, this award is presented to the employees of Hendry County." And I'd like to get a picture with you if you don't mind.
Awesome.
And I'd actually like to ask Mr. Chapman, Mr. Lapp, and Ms. Davis to come to the picture, because they've been very instrumental in helping
They can
us with
stay
this
down
process.
front.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
That'd be great.
Hey, Chief.
He's too tall for the
Mark, come on this side.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Sands.
Ms. Hanson.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Sands?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, on behalf of Hendry County in general, thank you for all the energy that y'all pour into your different items that you deal with throughout the county. I know that every year I've tried to attend your event at River Bend. It seems like it's always sitting on top of something that is on my calendar. And
You want the date for this coming year?
If you would.
April 27th, 2019.
April 27, 2019.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
But it really is. It really
We've already
is.
got the band booked.
It's an amazing event,
Thank
and just what y'all do is really where the rubber meets the road.
We appreciate
So thank
your
you for what y'all
support.
do. Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sands. We're going to slide Mr. Mandel in here so he can get on down the road, too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And it is a nice event, the United Way. I enjoyed being there, and we're partners with the United Way up here. I'm here for really one reason mainly, and that is representing the disadvantaged residents of the community up here that we transport. And due to changes in the grants as they were issued this year, and I can go into that, but the basic point is if we are to transport the same number of people that we are doing now, in other words, maintain the level of service, we will need an increase in the amount of funding we get. I've been to the Glades County Commission, and I've asked them to increase their amount from 20,000 to 40, and we've asked you to increase your 45,000 to 60. We need that because of changes the state made this year. I could go into that. I know I was asked by one of the commissioners what happened to the Shirley Conway grant. But the main point is those levels of funding are needed to just maintain transporting the number of people we are now. That's the main point. The Shirley Conway grant, what happened with the state this year is the legislature did not tell the commission how to distribute money throughout the state. The commission asked for a post-session amendment, and they were denied. So what the commission did is they took a pot, so to speak, and put all the money that they gave to the CTCs across Florida into it. They also took the money that went to Shirley Conroy, which normally is only for rural counties, and they put that in the pot as well. And then they took all the money that goes to the MPOs for funding the planning purposes, and they put that in the pot, as well as the proviso money that 3 years ago came from Broward County that will be exhausted this year, but that went in. And then they distributed it to the counties. In a TD sense, you all had an increase from $39,000 a month to a little over $50,000, which is good in a way, but it requires the increased match. And what FDOT did, because they give us money, we transport people on those funds also. FDOT lowered the amount they give us by the same amount that the state raised the TD money. Now, I don't need any match for the FDOT money. They're giving us, last year they gave us $710,000 out here. We can use 50% of that by matching trips, and we use that to transport people. But the TD money must be cash. Now, you can give us cash in any way you want. as long as we can provide that to the state. We cannot match TD with trips. We have to provide trips as the match, which means it costs us money to provide those trips. Let me just stop for a second. Is that clear?
What percent are you gonna get cut?
It depends. For every $9 we get from the state, we have to have $1 from you. It's as simple as that, you or Glades. If we don't get those dollars from you and Glades, the cut depends on the amount that you don't fund us, what we're asking for.
So do you have enough to fund yourself now through this
No,
year?
not with what Glades gave us and you gave us last year. No, that would require a cut in what we do.
And what would you cut?
What would we cut? We'd have to cut trips. Some people
The
would,
out-of-town trips, because,
no,
the out-of-town trips are the one that you added, right?
no. What we've added is, before I got to Good Wheels, for all the years, we were getting, I'll say we, out here, we're getting about $100,000 a year from FDOT. The last 2 years, that's been increased to $525,000 one year and $710,000 the other year. We've been able to increase the grant request from them and get it. Those dollars are used for trips within the counties. They have to be. The TD, we're allowed to go outside the county, and we do. And those are for probably the most critical care of all.
Oh, just real quick, Mr. Mandel, the numbers I received, I was not in agreement with. The second numbers that came, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still not in agreement with.
Well,
I still would like to see those numbers. If
Okay.
it changed overnight that much, I'd like to see what
no,
the actual number is.
well, okay, and this is what I'm going to do. There was a mistake, and I admit it, and thank you for catching it. But we are transporting almost 3,000 people a month, and what I will send you, it's going to take time because we have to redact it. We have to give the state and we have to give FDOT every time we submit an invoice. The backup is the name and address of every person we take, the address of origination of the trip, as well as where the trip terminates. And I will have that all sent to you. But it's going to have to be redacted because for HIPAA, we cannot give you the names of those people.
I don't think we really want the names. I think we really want the backup that's going to prove that we got this amount of
That
trips
is,
going.
that is the backup. What
That's
I
what we
give
want.
this, I will have to redact the names, but what I give this, the state and FDOT will not reimburse us without the very specific data, and the very specific data will show you that we took, I think in the memo, it was 2,900 and some people. We did that in June. And without the increase in what we're asking for as match, we will not be able to take that many people.
Are you still having trouble paying for your gas?
Yeah, I did deliver a check tonight to the commissioner, but what I'd like you to understand is this is not really something that we're doing out of our own act. The Federal Transit Administration grants, which amount to a total of over $600,000 between the county match we get from Lee County as well as what the FTA gives us. FTA, Federal Transit Administration, really gave us $530,000 last year in 2017. Something happened in Washington in 2017, and the funds were not transferred for the state to FDOT until February of 2018. We got the authorization to start submitting invoices on February of 2018 for 2017 expenses. Now, according to FDOT, you can't go back and pull out an expense from April of 2017. You have to use expenses that happened after February of 2018. And so we got our first partial reimbursement of that 2017 money in about April. It'll probably take us until August or September to get all of the 2017 money. We've been awarded about the same amount of money for 2018, but we don't have it yet. That's why. In 2016, sir, we had the money in our bank in August, and we were very current in 2016.
We can't give people gas for 2 to 3 months, because we gotta pay our bills too. And
I-
We're just like you, we don't have any
I know.
money either.
We don't-
Have
we
they
don't-
paid up, Charles?
With the check, I need to check the current balance. I did not have it on the top of my head, but he made a very significant payment tonight. He's probably about 2,000 or 3,000 short from where we're at to bring current, but he made a very large payment tonight.
Okay.
And you also made a nice gesture. You're going to take the money that you all owe us from Hurricane Irma, deduct it from the next amount we owe you. Okay.
I have an invoice outstanding that FEMA has brought to our attention from the transports that Goodwill's provided during Hurricane Irma. Instead of doing a cash transaction, we'll take a look at the accounts and see if we can absolve it.
Can we give, I would love to see our staff dig in and get our board perspective on this. Is there any reason we can't give Charles and Ms. Davis the direction to work on this with you and come back to us in
Yes.
the first meeting in August? And
Well, I don't want to not do that, but I'm interested to see, do any of you all want to try to find more money? Let me tell you where I'm at. I've been telling him and anybody else that'll listen to me, I want to cut the millage. I want to see a tax reduction if at all possible. If that means that a service that, Mr. Mandel, I like you as a person.
Thank you.
But I think that your operation is extremely inefficient. I think that Goodwill's has a lot of efficiencies that could be recognized, and I would love to go tick for tat with you on any graph, report, acronymies, or jargon-rich phrase that you want to throw at me, and we'll try to boil it down to what it actually means and what actually is being produced. Here's what I see all the time. Just a lay guy that ain't that smart, driving an F-250 up and down 27 and 80 or all over 833 or you name it. I see a really big van / people mover that I know costs hundreds of dollars, if not, let's just boil it down, $100 an hour, let's say to move, probably costs more than that, but I'm gonna say hundreds of dollars. This is gonna be, for sake of discussion, $100 an hour that has a human driving it and a human riding in it. That's it. That's all I ever see. And then when I have a constituent that calls me up and says, hey, Commissioner, I need to get to X or Y or Z location, they try to reach out to your organization and, well, they have to schedule an appointment or they have to fill an application or they have to do something, and it's not an efficient process. If it were mine and I were in control of the fiefdom, I would flush the toilet and start all over again. But it's not mine. It's our regions, and I think that we need to have a healthy discussion about what we're going to do. But tonight, if you're asking me, can we give more money to Goodwills? No. I don't want to give any more money to Goodwills until I know exactly what's happening and exactly what the users are from a volume perspective and where said user are going to. And I'd love to also hear from Mr. Abney, what is he needing for our veteran affairs offices and the volume of trips that he has to take people to and from those areas. I don't want to discount any population, and I don't want to put anybody out that's in need of the services, but at the same time, I think we really got to break out the microscope and start looking at this one a little bit more in detail, because I don't see the efficiencies recognized. If it was a private business, you'd have gone out of business a long time ago.
Well, as a private business, we wouldn't go into the business, if you want to know the truth. You're right.
Yeah, probably.
In Lee County, our title, if you will, of CTC was up. Every 5 years, a county decides on the CTC. Nobody else bid for it.
Yeah.
Even Lee-Tran turned it down. There's a reason. This is not a business anyone would want to be in. You see a lot of vehicles. Let me say this about the vehicles. You have about $1,200,000 in assets and vehicles in this county. You're not paying for them. At least you haven't up till this year. The last 2 years, we've gotten them at 100% paid for by either the federal and or state government.
Point taken, but I don't know if we need $1.2 million, $5 million, or $500,000
because
worth of assets.
We have to respond when the Medicaid brokers tell us to take somebody. We have an hour to pick them up and get them where they have to be.
Mr. Mandel, I have a very hard time with Medicaid sometimes, and the county is the highest per capita percentage, and I went my tail up to Tallahassee and fought with every legislator that is up there to say, I don't have the ability, I don't have the dollars and cents in an account to pay for any more Medicaid burden. Now, sometime we've got to plug our fingers in the dike and stop the bleeding, and we are bleeding porously.
You don't pay us for Medicaid.
No, sir, you're right. We don't pay you specifically, but we pay a whole
You
hell of a
do,
lot of people,
and I
a
do
whole
with
hell of a
you.
lot of money.
Yes.
And a lot of people get a lot of services for nothing, and we're only a county of 40,000 people.
Right.
I apologize for getting emotional
No,
about this.
look, it's okay.
But-
But I'm
but-
only here for one reason. I don't disagree
need
with
more
you.
money.
If you want the same number of people who we're transporting right now to be able to get to their dialysis, chemo, their medical, I have to have more money, and it's not my rule, it's the state of Florida's rule.
Understood.
And that's all this is. I am happy to work with you guys. I think I told you a while back, we're getting new software. It took us a year, 2 years ago, the legislature gave us the money. It took another year for FDOT to have us go through a procurement process.
I don't understand that.
Neither do I.
Then that's the definition of what I'm talking about. and
Look,
why
I was
don't
on
wanna
your
just
side
give
of that
more money.
table for a while.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I told Senator Pasadomo what the cost was going to be, and I gave her 3 bids, and that's what they voted on and gave us, and then FDOT made us go back through the whole process again. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. When I get a vehicle, you want to know why we don't have cash? I just got a vehicle on a Shirley Conroy grant, 100% paid for by the state of Florida. But I have to send the $77,000 to the bus company in Jacksonville so that the state can send me back the $77,000, which I don't have to pay you while the money's out there.
Well, that's government for you.
Thank you, but
Hang on,
I'll-
Mr. Mandel, hang on. Take a breath, deep breath.
I'm sorry,
This
I
has been
joined
going on
you.
all night, and
Yeah.
right now that you made a public comment, we've heard it.
Yeah, it's
I
up
believe
to
now
you.
it's up to the board to decide.
It's up to
with
you
our-
what you want
with
to
our
do.
staff.
I will take the
Calm
number,
down, let me
I
talk,
will,
please.
okay, I'm sorry, sir.
We could go around and around.
You're right.
It's time to stop going around and
Okay.
around. What we're gonna do is we're gonna schedule this, where we can actually have staff dig into it.
Fine.
We'll come back and visit.
Thank
But
you.
tonight, we're not gonna get anything accomplished.
I know that.
Right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on setting a date. Mr. Swindle, I agree with that. At this point, none of us are ready to pull the trigger and say, here.
Thank you.
So this is what we need to do. We need to
First of all-
schedule a appointment for it.
Done.
Yes, ma'am.
I will,
Before you do, I
Charles,
want
I'm,
him to remember that this is the same thing that we talked about a year ago, because the numbers just not going with the bodies, and that's the purpose of the numbers are not going with the bodies. The amount of people that's being transported, that's why we asked for the spreadsheet, so that we can
I'm gonna
see it.
have the
So
sheet sent to
I'm
Mr.
in agreement
Chapman.
with the chairman that we need to dig a little bit deeper, before, we make that decision, so.
I'm gonna,
Let's just look at a date and see what we can come up with.
Charles,
November.
I'm not here till August 5th.
August
Anytime
5th.
after August 5th, I'm available for you. But in the meantime, I'm gonna
What
ask,
you're looking at, Mr. Swindle?
Give enough time, I'm asking staff if they give them time to do what needs to be done.
That's the first.
In order to, what is the target that you're wanting in the deliverables?
First meeting in August, would that work? Is that enough, or do you need a second?
When's the first workshop?
First budget workshop is going to be the second Tuesday of August at 3:30 in the afternoon. We
The
usually,
14th.
we
That's
we
when
usually we usually reserve that time for the constitutional officers.
Okay.
We do departmentals at the second workshop in August, which will be on the fourth Tuesday.
Well, if
But
he
this
wa-
is something y'all are gonna have to do in y'all's time and dig in and.
If we could have the second meeting in August, that
That's
would be
fine.
better for
28th?
us.
Enough time for you? Okay, I'm fine with that.
We can get the data that
Okay.
we require, yes, and then also to make sure we're coordinating with the HRTPO, the Heartland Regional TPO, to just cross-reference.
Perfect.
All
Okay.
right.
Mr. Lapp, do we need to put that in the form of a motion, or do we require anything for that, or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're gonna visit that on the 28th, Mr. Mandel.
I will, whatever, Charles, whatever dates after the 5th you want, and I will send you these detailed invoices so you can see the trips. First, of all, thank you, sir, for letting me speak. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We have quite a few public hearings, so we're going to dive right in. Number one is petition number RZ 18-0002, Garcia Family Farms, represented by Mr. Rock Abajadi. Ms. Assembly, did you come in on it first?
Yes, sir.
Come on in.
Is there something we need to hear, or can we move forward?
I
I make a motion to approve, option 1.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. This is a hearing of the public. Is there anyone in the public who would like to address this? Seeing none, is there any further discussion on the board?
Both lines, Mr., all the yellow lines, that's going to be my end result, correct?
The That represents the 600 acres, and within that, there will be cells of the mining. The entire property won't be mined because there will be a 400-foot swath along 833 that will be held for future development. And when that occurs, they would have to come in for a PUD amendment to go forward with that.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
I don't.
All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good job, assemblage.
Thank you. Here to serve.
Going to move to petition B, CPA 18-0001.
I move transmittal of CPA 18-0001.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Harris. This also being a public hearing, is there anyone in the public who would like to address this?
No, I can't bend over. Never mind.
Seeing none, is there any further discussion on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Shazam.
Petition number not available. Ms. Emledge, go ahead and give it to us.
Yes, Commissioners, this is one of the amendments that was on our priority list of changes to our land development code that was presented to you about a year ago. We came up with a priority list, and this was one of them. And this amendment to Section 150-10 is regarding noticing requirements. And if you'll remember, we had a case for a slaughterhouse that brought up the discussion of are we noticing the proper area or number of
Distance,
people
right.
in the distance. And so it was recommended, as I've detailed in the staff report from the board, that we look at 1,500 feet. And so we've presented that to the LPA and had a discussion with that, and the LPA came up with a recommendation of 1,000. Staff is supportive of that. But in the meantime, we also provided you a cost comparison of two projects that have been before you to show you what the increase to the amount of money that the applicants would be spending by increasing it by 1,000 and then, or also by 15 or to 1,500, not increasing it by, but that the noticing area would go from 750 feet to 1,000 in the one example, and the other example would go to 1,500 feet. And so with this, staff is recommending that you consider the 1,000 feet. I still realize that would increase the cost to the applicants. And also as part of this noticing, there was a discussion about whether to only send to unincorporated Hendry County property owners, but staff is not in agreement with that concept. We have always sent it to everybody within the noticing area, whether it's it hits the city of LaBelle or Glades and so on, and that's how everybody else does it. So we had this back and forth at the LPA, and I think that they were looking for opportunities to limit the costs, and that came up. That's why. But so we're recommending, staff is recommending that you consider the 1,000 feet and that you require it, the notice to go to everybody within the distance, the area,
In multiple ways, in multiple mailings.
and in all jurisdictions that
Well,
it
and-
would
but
touch on.
Registered mail as well as regular mail. Correct.
That's true. I'm sorry. Yes, I needed to highlight that the addition would be regular mail as well. As Commissioner Harris highlighted, was that some folks, when they get a certified mail letter, sometimes won't take it because they're afraid that it's something that's
bad.
negative. And so this way, we have the opportunity of getting it to them.
Outside, and maybe this dates back even before I was on the board, but outside of the slaughterhouse incident, I don't recall anything in 5 years that we've had people that didn't know. Is
I don't think
Those
we
of you
have.
that, is there anything else that you guys can remember that?
That people did not
'Cause that's what
know.
they were
Yeah.
saying then. We didn't know until we just heard about this today, and they were in here saying, we wish we would have known, and so
Right.
that's why this got spurred
It
up.
don't,
Yeah.
it very seldom happens.
Well, that's, it very seldom is right, but it happened to me 15, 20 years ago. And I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now.
Would this
man.
have helped you?
Yeah,
Do you think it would have?
He,
absolutely.
he was in 989.
I wouldn't, yeah. Well, I just put it this way. It caused my property value to go, Ms. Carson, Mr. Commissioner Turner, yes, down the toilet.
That's why
So
he
I
ran
believe
for
they
commission.
deserve the recognition.
Yeah.
And a 1,000 should be fine.
Yeah, I'm good with that, but
Because we went through a huge exercise 2 years ago to reduce as much fees as we could. Now we're adding fees back. And
Right.
although I understand, we want to protect the interest of the public and we don't want people to unduly lose property value and things like that, but,
What
this is gonna cost a lot of people a lot of money for a one in every 5, 10, 15-year occurrence. I don't know that,
But it's gonna cost one person that's wanting to develop a property,
Not
you
a
know,
bunch.
and I think that you can, I mean, all of it, not at $1,000 is the magic number, and obviously they could be potentially developing tens of thousands of dollars, but, I mean,
And
are
you-
we talking about just the mailings, or are we talking about? Yeah, I mean,
That,
just
that
mailings.
would be the.
it's a,
And you don't.
to me,
only
it's
a
a
difference of
nominal fee to keep your public
$210.67, right?
educated.
That was for the one example that we
Per thousand
provided
foot.
for in Montour example.
but
that was tough on them. That was a church who didn't have that money. I know
Right,
that.
and as a matter of fact, you waived their application fee the
That's
second
right.
time around, so.
So there won't be a way to
But-
put a real cost on it, because you don't know how many houses.
That's right.
Right.
It could be a lot or not very many if you're in a rural area next to farms or something.
It could be 2 or 3.
Well,
or it could
Yeah.
be-
I will tell you that in planning and zoning, and poor Myra gets these phone calls, I don't necessarily. We have a lot of folks that call us and say, we didn't know about this.
Oh, yeah?
And.
Y'all
and-
should get our cell phones sometime.
Well, I think we have enough, thank you. But I'm not sure that this is the silver bullet, but we advertise in the papers, and
don't
we do
read that.
attend the communities that have community meetings, regular meetings, like Pioneer and Felda. We do require applicants to attend with staff attending as well. And so it's.
Post the property too. Post the property too.
Oh, thank you.
I think
Yes.
posting the property is
Post-
actually the most bang for your buck. It seems to be the one that generates the most attention for me personally,
They can see
that I
it.
get. People see that, they see that giant Z, and
Yeah.
it engages a conversation.
Right,
turn
right.
over.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and, you know,
Ms. Embly's I'm not to cut you short, but I mean, just
Yeah.
looking at our neighboring cities
yes, sir.
and knowing that we've extended the increase that much more, I don't know if this is a best management, but I love implementing those. If you're good with 1,000, I'm gonna take your recommendation. So do you want a motion accordingly, just for this issue right now?
Well, that, we have two sections. There's another section that is
You want
part
us
of
to wait?
this.
Okay, because I was
and
gonna
so
get this one done, but
It would
okay.
be,
And we're confident that the extra mailing is necessary as well.
I can't see that, sir. I don't know that that's going
Right.
to be the answer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, quite honestly, we're going to still get complaints from folks that they didn't know about it.
If you
And-
drove it out there personally, you would still get it.
And had the plane driving around
Yeah.
with us.
Right,
on the
right.
banner.
And the
And,
only way you're gonna know if the number's not that high depends on Myra's phone call that she might. get.
yeah, right. But again, most of our activity are in, in areas that, well, I'll just say that most of them, we don't have a lot of interest from folks.
Yeah.
Apathy reigns supreme everywhere.
And I would support keeping it at 750, and maybe looking at this at another time if we continue to get more complaints, and maybe you spend time talking to your constituents to see if they really feel like that it's something for them or something that they really would like to see, but
Mr. Chair, I think the LPA recommended 1,000. I want to go with their recommendation, Ms. Embly, because I think so many times, we kind of listen to those boards that are advisory at level to us. So that's it. That's where I'm at. I'll make a motion accordingly. And then if you want to hold on the other ones, Ms. Embly, or do you want us to we'll hear the
It
rest of
would-
that.
It would be a motion for both of them, so let's finish
Okay.
this,
All right.
the second one.
Yes, ma'am.
Which has to do with updating the general provisions of how the LPA operates, basically. And so we're not changing how it operates and the procedures, we're just bringing it up to date and getting rid of erroneous, things,
Yep.
language.
Okay.
So that's it.
I make a motion to approve the updated language as related to LPA operations and the 750 to 1,000 feet recommendation that was also presented by the LPA to us.
And also with that would be to add regular mail
Yes, ma'am.
and that's it, right?
It's mandatory that you
Can we,
do.
well, we could actually just recommend what is in the attached
Yeah,
ordinance.
right. Can we
That
just-
makes it easier.
I like that better.
Mandatory
Sorry.
that you do the mail out.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Now, if you do this, it's gonna be mandatory they do regular US mail. as well.
right. So Myra will be even busier.
They'll open it up if you do regular mail.
I'm sorry?
They'll open it up if you do regular mail.
Well,
Got a motion, do we have a
Okay.
second, or?
Second it, but
You
I
got a second?
think that, I like the regular mail also, because sometimes I used to do that.
You used to do that too.
Yeah.
well, and I do echo what Commissioner Turner said, if we're relying on LPAs and these boards to spend their time, we have to give them validity.
Yes,
But I have to tell you, in this instance, I don't agree with this motion because we're in a situation where we are really wanting to cut our fees and cut our services, but raise, and I just
Yes.
don't think that sets a correct tone. We're gonna charge
Right.
folks more to do business in Henry County.
yeah,
I get both sides of it, but I
Right.
just think the chemistry is wrong tonight and at this point in time.
And I
for me to
understand
support
that,
this.
sir.
Commissioner
but-
Spindler, just trying to lobby you a little bit on that, what I would say, just to make you, and I'm not being condescending when I say this at all, just to make you feel a little bit better about it, I would just look at it as it is an individual landowner, and we're doing our best to make them perform due diligence to let their neighbors know what's going on. And I think we're just trying to cast that net out there as big as we can so that we're not painted in a picture of kind of doing business in the dark,
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter what we do, like we've all said. If you're anti-government, then, oh, look, you guys didn't tell me anything, or you only meet the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and it's you start your meetings at 5 and I don't get off till 7 PM and I work in, Lehigh or something. Well, I'm sorry,
And our application fees have been dialed back tremendously. I mean, you
Yeah.
really have to
Right.
think about it.
You've done a
It's-
phenomenal
Some
job
has
with
been
that.
more
Yeah.
than half.
Right,
Or a
right.
third, and so on. So I'll be honest with you, I almost wish we hadn't dialed some of those back a little bit because it's really a lot time consuming for us to review these and.
And can you expand on that? So you feel like it's
Well-
costing you now?
Well, I will say it this way. We're looking at, with the workload that we have, I mean, right now, I hope it's not an anomaly. I hope it's a pattern. We have 20 active cases that we're reviewing. We have 6 that are on, I'll call simmer, that have been sitting there for a while, waiting for the applicant to get back to us. That puts it's basically Shane and myself and Myra. Well, we're looking at potentially hiring consultants to help with some of that workload where we're comfortable with them taking parts and pieces of the applications to review, like the survey and maybe the drainage plans and various like parts of the applications that don't necessarily involve us in I guess interjecting what the direction the board has given us on how to look at projects, if that made sense.
a wee bit.
But,
I really just want to vote on this motion.
okay, I know. Anyway, but
Sorry.
I'm sorry too. I got off on a tangent.
I led you down that
And I
path.
really
I'm
don't
sorry.
want to be up here anymore anyway. so.
So we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. This is also a hearing of the public. Is anyone in the public would like to address this at this time? Seeing none. Any further discussion by the board? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ms. Embley, what you were kind of saying, correct me if I'm wrong, the gist is, if we had a little bit more money in our war chest, you might be able to consult it up and have your turnaround reduced or quickened, so to speak.
Yes.
So you could push a little bit more volume out the door and,
Right.
and allow some dirt to be turned maybe a
Right.
bit quicker.
Right.
And that would have occurred had we not touched those fees. But we could also make the argument that maybe this has helped energize a little bit. Obviously, the economy, there's no
right.
substitute for
And it
that. I mean,
just-
you're not complaining or
but-
saying you
right.
disagree. You just say, man, it would have been nice.
And it just, but the other part of this, and excuse me for going there, Mr. Chapman, that it also means that with this workload, that those special projects that you have us work on, we have to balance those. So,
Special projects being, let me give an example of Airglades.
not,
No, can you get me a report on how many, whatever you did last
there
month?
you go.
Oh,
More of those
District
things.
5, code enforcement,
Yeah.
open cases.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, it's not.
See, you were speaking in a different language and I didn't understand.
I was
that.
picking it up. I was picking it
You were
up.
trying to be real nice. I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting it, but I hear it now, loud and clear.
No, I'll
Commissioner
talk about-
Turner, stop sending emails.
I'll give you a good,
Quit asking for things.
I'll give you a good example. The rental inspection program that we spent time on and never went anywhere
It was
with.
a horrible idea. That's why it went nowhere. So, you know.
But I still spent time on it.
Yeah, you shouldn't have
Okay.
gotten so zealous on that one. In case you want my opinion.
Okay.
You wonder how I thought or anything.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So are you losing money or breaking even?
Oh, we're making money.
Oh, you are? Well, then
Yeah.
don't complain.
Yeah.
Well, for the
I haven't heard her
benefit,
complain yet.
for the benefit of the board, though, is that planning and zoning is not a department that generally generates a ton of revenue. They are-
Recreation that makes all the money.
No, not even close. But the planning and zoning department 2 or 3 years ago actually had to receive a large general fund subsidy to balance out. The last 2 years, though, they've been keeping their own with the estimated revenue coming in, but the expenses are still higher than their revenue. They are a general fund department. So I don't want the board to think that the fees are supporting it 100%. There's still a general fund subsidy for the
It
operation.
should break even though, shouldn't it?
No, sir, it never breaks even.
No, think about when we were in the doldrums, we had 3 permits pulled all year. It wasn't gonna break
Yeah.
even.
Right. And you have to keep in mind that we're not supported by permit fees. We also have work that we do that is board-directed work. And we don't get the money, any money or application fees for those things. So that's just an example of why we
But
would
when you
never
put
be.
it on tax roll, you get taxes.
What?
When you put it on the tax roll, we get taxes. What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
You're from Naples.
I'm
Naples.
not from Naples, sir.
Simmons, I have no clue what he's talking about either. so.
Okay.
No, she doesn't.
Stop badgering the planner.
Tell her tomorrow.
I don't even know where we are.
We're on the second.
we are.
We're on the
D.
last public hearing, I believe. See?
Okay. I'll go ahead with, the next public hearing is an amendment to the Hendry County Code of Ordinances regarding,
Vote on that.
Yeah, we would.
We voted on C.
It was unanimous.
Then we're on
Man, we
D.
didn't go to D yet.
Okay.
is that,
And the main,
Okay.
We should be on D.
and this is in regards to basically lot splits. What we've done is we've created criteria specifically in the Land Development Code for lot splits. We have been performing lot splits. We have had an application that you all approved. This is kind of ratifying the process. At the same time, we're retitling the section and creating definitions to
I
make
make
it
a
more
motion to
clear.
approve the proposed ordinance. The LPA voted 5-0 to support as well.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Being a public hearing, is anyone in the public like to address this? Seeing none. Any
Who wants to?
further questions or comments by the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to approve the Dark Sky Association and Illuminating Engineering North Side and North American Handbook with promote minimizing light pollution.
second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. also a public hearing. Would anyone in the public like to address this?
That was, what you just quoted was not, and that's like what went into her thinking and preparing it, but there's nothing in the ordinance that refers to that, so it's.
I make a motion to approve the attached ordinance that associates itself with the information associated with
Thank you
dark
for
skies.
that correction, sir.
Trying to make those that are all about making sure that everything is warm and fuzzy in the environment, here dark skies. That's what gets them fired up.
This is commercial.
Does anyone in the public want to address it now? Any further comments or questions from the board?
This is,
Too much time.
this is commercial, not resident.
Yeah, this is for multifamily, commercial, and industrial. It's not single-family, for single-family.
Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Comment on that one, I can't remember.
He did.
Twice.
Ms. Embley's moved to the side.
Okay, thank you, that was fun.
Can Ms. Emlich go home?
Yes.
You need to stay.
Good to see you, Ms. Emlich.
She's got her superhero utility belt on, so.
Okay, and the correspondence under FYI, is there, anybody got anything there? Ms. Hoots, you stuck around, do you want to, you're good?
Shane, Mr. Chair, Shane, if we had any questions, would you like us to ask them here or later? It's not really as it relates to stuff like this, as it relates to projects on this project list. Chair, would you rather me wait till business by district or right now?
Well, we can go ahead and go now, it's fine.
Okay. Shane, I'm sure you've been noticed that while you were out, I did a ride around with one of your superintendents and the county administrator. Was just wanting to ask you, as it relates to some of the information that I relayed to you in Flaghole, if we could have another circle up to see where we're at on looking at all of the drainage easements on the front side and the back side. I've had a handful of constituents that have brought to my attention that there's some, on the backside ditches that we did the one-time cleaning on, that you guys are still maintaining with the four-wheeler and whatnot. There may be some high spots that they would like to have looked at.
Okay.
And then there's one constituent specifically on Kilpatrick that I think I'd love to see if we could shoot the grades or whatever it is that you all do from a surveying standpoint to see if he is in a bowl. It looks.
I think we met him.
Yes, sir. And I think from anecdotally, and we did meet him a couple
Yeah.
years ago, and
He
he's
is in a
reminded
bowl.
me correctly. And I've went out there twice now and looked at it, and it does seem like everything kind of pools right there in his front yard. I just want to see if there's any remedy that could possibly occur. And, and looking at what data is there that shows, as we shoot it this way, or shoot it back to the east and shoot it back to the west, if there's any bottlenecks or anything
We
that we
can
can
look at it,
fix.
but I believe the solution's gonna be, have to have a drainage easement from him and his neighbor and cut a swale.
Back to the
the
backside.
south.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Okay. That's really it that I had with you, other than the two roads in Hookers Point that I know you're getting me numbers on the MSBU possibility, and then the end of Kingsdairy.
Yep.
That's it. So, okay.
Now, on King's Dairy, I can answer that a little bit. I'm not totally tied up with, but on King's Dairy, we did some research going back, and they spelled it different in the minutes. They put King's Dairy together. Sometimes they didn't put the road. It appears that might have been the 70s or 80s, early 80s, there was some special exceptions or some kind of rezonings that took place. And the county engineer mentioned that was a 15-foot wide road. He didn't like it. It was narrow, but it was a 15-foot wide county-maintained road. Now, I can't find anything about the easements, but I can find it was a county-maintained road, and it was for, I think it was Rudd or Loftus or something like that. I was looking at the names, trying to go through, and I read the the rezone files from planning and zoning to review them. I got 2 more parcels to check out, but it looks like back in the day, we did go south of Joshua.
How about them apples? Okay. Well, then I am excited about you discovering what the facts are there and us potentially being able to
And then
do something there.
What we'd like to do, would be ideal is, we don't know where the easements are, if there are any easements. We might have just been maintaining them. I don't know how much we maintained in the past, but we'd like to do some surveying, cross-sections, and have easements prepared and have the landowners actually give us an easement so we can formalize.
And the request is so minimal. It is, you already have a tractor going down Kingsbury Road, running south as hard as it can, and right there at Joshua, it takes a hard left and runs east. And if you could just take that boom and hammer on that ditch that's sloped right there, it would make all the difference in the world to the very finite number of people that are on that road.
There's not many parcels, so maybe.
No, sir,
for
it's
health-
nothing. It would take them longer to turn around when they got to the end than it would to actually perform the work.
So we'd need, I'd need your support to, meet with the landowners to get there, see if they'd give us easements. But from what I'm seeing so far, we've pretty much got it a pretty good ways.
Okay, outstanding.
Can I-
I
can
did
I
remember
also-
one other thing, Commissioner. I did remember one other thing. I would love to get educated, whatever documents we have that shows why, as you run down Ever High Acres and you're on a westerly approach, so you're on everything west of Ever High, there's been no maintenance of any sort for a number of years. And how does that legally play out? I would assume, and I sent message, I don't know.
I got it. I
Okay.
was doing some research on, but what it boils down to is the unrecorded plat doesn't go on that side with road easements. It has large tracts, but it doesn't have any road easements. There's one at the south end, and,
Anyway,
No,
you
I'm
know
sorry.
exactly what I'm talking about. I want
Yeah.
to see that, and I
we
want
do
to be
assess
able to
them
speak to
different.
that.
Some are not assessed at all,
Okay,
and then some were assessed for drainage.
that's exactly, okay, good.
And we do have, and I asked my guy to verify if it was right, because it was an older map. Stephen
Okay.
prepared it, but I wanted to double check it before I gave it to you. But it's color coded, shows it all, but we've never done no maintenance on that side, except for like Canopy. I think it's Canopy, we've got a few fish farms down there.
Yeah, but we never cleaned out ditches in Flagler either, and we did that one time 38 years later, so.
Paperwork.
And then, we requested a map not too long ago. The entire board did. It wasn't just Commissioner Turner.
Of what?
Of our roads currently and what state they're in, and then let's just say, I can't think of a road in Pioneer that they've done, but they've recently marled a road in Pioneer, and it happened in 2014. But there's still X number of roads that are not, they're still just grass runways, if you will.
Right.
What is that time frame looking like? And then Henry Isles is coming up. It'll have last paved in whatever year it was. Flaghole would say last done in 2016, and so we would be able to have that living document and be able to reference it.
Yeah, that's gonna be extensive.
It is. It's going to be really extensive.
That's exactly what Ms. Emily said.
That's
Don't ask
exactly
her
what
she
she's
left.
talking about. That's exactly what she's talking about.
That's a lot of staff time.
It is.
I'll make it easy for you. On the roads that are grass, what you call grass runways, as grass strips, we typically do not rock those because you've got to have a South Florida permit because you're creating impervious area. We don't have a permit over.
The district will argue that point with you.
But-
We could lean on them, but you know what I'm talking about. I just want to have a document that's alive and well in the county so that when I get struck by a bus and/or lightning kills me,
It's gonna be a Goodwill's bus, by the way.
okay, it's probably going to be a good one bus that is running in the red,
I'm sure of that.
right? I want to make sure that, by the way, that's another one of those accounts
Will be.
doesn't make money. I want to make sure that we have the ability to know, this hasn't been done because like Art Lawrence, I don't know when it was paved last, right? But, I just think that having that, man, it's just amazing when you can
Right.
see it. It speaks 1,000 words. And he can speak to Fort to know. He can speak, and I would be nice if that was a document that every once in a while we could unfold. It's the entire county as it exists, and we can look at where we're at chronologically on that. Now it stops him from saying how he says it. I need y'all to do this, stop everything that's happening in the county and fix this road. It's ironic how when that happens so many times in his district, he gets it done though.
Nice paved roads over there, though, isn't it?
There are, man.
Am I saying that right? Quarry Road?
It
Quarry, what about that one? Because I rode
is.
down there.
It's on the docket.
You already awarded a
It's
contract.
complete?
No, ma'am, you've already awarded a contract. We're preparing I think we actually already got the contract documents executed, but if not, they're being
I've
executed.
heard this speech for like 2 years.
Well, I rode down it the other
pretty bad.
week, and it's really bad.
It is
It's
rough.
bad.
It
Y'all
should
need to
be
give me
2
a front
months,
end
right?
liner when I got off of it.
Did you,
not
what? She said-
Hey, and that was what I was gonna add too, and I know you and I informally spoke about it, but 720
Right.
north of the railroad tracks to the Glades County line, it's dangerous.
It's scary. Yeah.
And it's not on the list, and I know you're working on it, but if whatever we can help, scrap, whatever.
But you see what I mean, Commissioner Swindle?
Yeah, I
That's
know
why we have
that's
to
there,
make
though.
these extra requests.
Yeah.
Get the engineer of the year tag, man. Nothing
Yeah,
now. I
like
am
3 or
done.
4 years in a row
See
now.
y'all later. Peace.
And not paddle with their feet. You understand what I'm talking about?
But you're gonna work on some funding, you're gonna say if I can.
720, you've already approved the chase. That's already went as
Okay, you're
priorities.
getting after it. You're getting the money.
We're trying to get the money
Did
on the
the
list.
5-year plan help you out any?
It does. The 5-year plan does help out, and the 5-year plan will cover a lot of that. It'll let us know, Palm Beach County Line to Stitt Ranch. We'll see that.
There's some of them that can't wait 5 years.
Absolutely, there are. There absolutely are. By the way, the repairs that y'all did on the road in front of the high school, what is it?
Francisco and Sonora.
Sonora, and then some other stuff that you did on John Road, I believe it is. It's really thankful. Thank you so much for
Now,
your staff
The
getting that
John
done.
Road repair was done by the water company. They had to repair that road. And we did some pothole patches, but the
Y'all
big,
did.
that
The
was
big, the big hole at the end was South Shore.
South Shore was waiting on the
We
repairs.
appreciate
and the
Chris and them getting that
contractor.
done, but the, some other stuff that y'all did, you did it a little bit better than what you all have done in the past, so.
Yeah, they didn't just make holes, man, they ripped it out and patched it, so your crew there done a great job.
I'll pass
Mr.
it on
Chapman.
to
Thank y'all for doing
Yeah,
that.
Dave Chapman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is that all Shane's got?
You want to talk about your change order while you're there?
Might as well
Thought
stay.
you got away, didn't you?
Nothing wrong with your back?
Mr. Chair, is this OA&K at LaBelle Airport apron?
Chair,
This is the change order to the airport terminal building.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
while we're at it, we have
Commissioner
two,
Turner, second by Commissioner Harris.
Chair.
Any further questions or discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I might just ask the board to entertain, there was a Scribner error under the staff reports that has the change order number 6 for OAK.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a change order number 8. For clarity for the record, can we just combine those two with this motion? Is that tolerable for the board?
That's fine. You emailed that to us, didn't
I
you?
did, just to clarify.
Thank you.
We had 6 we were going to do at the time of the agenda write-up, but I had 2 more that I had to get done that was time-sensitive, that we were like deadline up to Friday and into Monday morning. So those got done with the board's directive, the county administrator can approve it. So we're on 8 right now.
No
And
need for-
6 and 7 will be coming back to the board under FYI.
But, Mr. Chair, go ahead, Commissioner Harris. Sorry.
So can we combine them? Or is he gonna bring
We'll,
one back?
we'll bring them back.
Well, but to this point, this is what
Yeah, we don't need to bring them back.
that's,
really.
are we holding up? Are we stopping construction?
No, sir, no, sir. What he's saying is that 6 and 7 have already been executed underneath my authority that you've already given to me.
Okay.
We're going to put it back on the agenda
You gonna let us know?
so that you have it as a part of
Okay.
the record
Ratify
officially.
it, make it happen.
Well, it's just FYI.
It's
It's
under
just FYI, okay,
FYI.
I'm sorry, I heard him say that now that you make that.
Right.
But we're not, this board is not holding up,
You're not, but I'm getting
Okay.
ready to ask for one more favor on the airport. During the time we had no meetings, I asked for county administrator approval on change orders less than 10,000. I have like 1 or 2 loose items that are less than 10,000. I'd like, because we're getting close to substantial completion of the building, I'd like county administrator approval for any change orders 10,000 or
make,
less.
motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
Until the project's complete, just,
but you don't,
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Is there any further board questions or
but
discussion?
did he really have to have a motion for that?
it's not in the contract.
Right, it's not in the contract. You did a couple months ago.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Turner's request, all our going forward contracts say 10,000 or less. Change orders are approvable by the administrator, and that's the going forward. But this contract preceded that, so the contract doesn't say that. The contract says the board must approve all change orders.
Understood.
So that's the reason for that. But to be clear, I don't think number 8 got voted on yet, did it?
I thought we were combining them 3 times.
That's fine. So 8, and then the further authorization for
I thought that
future
was
change orders.
Yes, sir.
The administrator can
That was
sign.
asked, yeah, if we could combine them, yes. Is there any further discussion?
The only thing is just, I'm glad y'all are all understanding what this board is trying to see occur, which is progress made and not held up because us bunch of idiots got to get together every 2 weeks and give you approval of something that you're gonna do anyway. You
What do
know?
you mean a bunch?
Sorry, I'm sorry, this idiot. So, yeah, he's gonna get run over by a bus. Well, we think we know what we're talking about. But really, that guy knows what he's talking about as it relates to this stuff, and the rest of us just listen. So, and we put back on the rolls, right? Yes, that happened too.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Building looks good, too.
Sir?
It's coming along well. Looks
Thank
good.
you.
Commissioner Swindle's mad because it costs money and we got to pay a contract.
Yeah.
The,
Shoot a week.
the next item I have for you is Port LaBelle Utility System purchase of 2018
So move.
F-150.
Those guys. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Under C there, was Ms. Hoots, and it was a grant for the censor grant for the supervisor elections. There was no match required on that. I'm sure you've all seen that. So
Motion to
that's
approve.
Taken care of.
Second it.
I can't hear you.
Who would like to speak to it?
Come on down.
Glad you said you couldn't hear that. I was like, man, it's like a bat. I can't hear it either.
Hi, Brenda Hoots for the record, Supervisor of Elections. There needs to be a correction. This was on the security grant. The Albert Sensor was already done. That was the last time I was here.
Okay,
This is just it's the security one. That's all.
okay. Thank you. We didn't need a motion on that, did we? It's already done. It's just FYI. So actually, we're going to staff reports, Mr. Chapman.
Sir, before you this evening is a request for you to approve the millage rate for trim notification and set the date, time, and place for the public hearings to adopt the fiscal year 2018-19 Henry County budget.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the notice of trim at 8.4909.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Is there any further discussion on this?
And to set the hearings with the schedule set forth.
Yes, sir.
I think we had the schedule already. Don't we have that already set?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, but
Just follow
for
that schedule.
for the purpose of the record, it would be September 11th, 2018 at 5:30 PM in Clewiston and September 25th, 2018 at 5:30 PM in LaBelle.
And we're gonna try to work back to get it to the rollback rate.
What was it last September?
September 25th.
Thank you.
Is that right? We're gonna try
Sir,
to work
the
it back.
the guidance document that I sent out for the budget requests asked for substantial reductions in the budgets where possible. The biggest process that we have to still identify is the final state revenue numbers. What are the bids on the health insurance RFP going to result in terms of savings and those types of information moving forward. So staff is very clear that we've heard the board's desire, and we're going to do our best to present that back to you.
As well as whatever a loan situation may look like for capital improvement projects that we
Sir,
need to
yes,
get
sir.
back.
We'll have that information soon as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion on that, or?
We do. Motion and second.
Motion and second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2 was the Oak, which already taken care of. So 3 is Mr. Chapman.
Yes, sir. This is approval of the submission of grant applications to the Florida Department of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Program. It's a mouthful. Basically, there's a small window of time to be able to make these applications. Ms. Papanoff can give you a little bit more information about that. We would like you to go ahead and give us the green light so that we
I
don't
guess
have
to
to
approve
be.
option 1, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, make a motion.
I second it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner.
FTMM.
Second by Commissioner Byrd. Any questions or comments for Ms. Papanoff? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Papanoff.
Thank you. Mr. Lapp, that brings us to you.
Oh, the 4x4?
We did that.
We did, oh, that was the
already.
other one. Yeah, okay, that's right, I'm sorry.
Knock that in there.
Okay, we have two financial-related ordinance amendments that need to be made, or that you may want to make. One is the allowance of using the small county surtax money for other than capital purposes. That allowance in your ordinance will expire at the end of this fiscal year. If you want to extend that, we need to amend the ordinance to extend it. So tonight, we're not amending, we're just getting your permission to proceed and how we're going to advertise it. And that, the real question is, do you want to extend, 1, and then 2, for how many years? For several years in a row, you did it in 2-year increments. This past year, you did it for just 1 year, and so we need your direction on that.
I think, I'd like to make a motion to extend it 1 year, and then, anyway, under discussion, I got a comment.
I'll second the motion then, go ahead.
Then, after that, it will be fixed where you can use it for anywhere, but if we're gonna go out and borrow capital for the courthouse and the jail, I think we need to look at using some of this money to pay that loan back. I think we should look at that as a board, to use some of that capital to pay the loan back.
What it's intended for.
Right, that's what it's intended for. But we can look at that when we get to the time.
We got a
Great idea,
motion by
Commissioner
Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion there?
And I would just love to see the great work that our staff is gonna do to bring back hopefully a budget where we can move toward that and not have to use it so much to shore up other areas.
You could do a lot with that.
That's right.
Any further discussion?
Just, clarify what, I'm not mistaken here. We're talking about the fact that it's written into law as it relates to Hendry County, that our disaster relief fund, excuse me, our 1 cent sales tax cannot dip below 3.3.
Got the two, I did combine the two issues in my memo, but they're two separate issues. So I was first talking.
We're gonna always touch, we always have to prepare this to be able to touch the 1 cent sales tax and then use it to allow ourselves to balance our budget. We have to vet that every time.
You have to vet it because your own ordinance
Yes, sir.
restricts it to
Our own
capital.
rule. Yes, sir.
It's not a state
And in
restriction.
the 10 years that I've been a board member, we've touched it every time.
Well, we started touching it when we went to 6.5.
Yep,
It was the first time.
yep. So I think it was even 2 years before I was on the commission.
So after 3.5, we're not supposed to touch it?
At
Explain.
3.3, we're not, no, I'm sorry. I just misconstrued all of that.
Okay.
So just speaking to 1 cent sales tax, by Hendry County law or ordinance, we have to, every time we're going to take and balance our budget or utilize that 1 cent sales tax revenue to help balance our budget and not put it into capital improvement, we have to publicly recognize that and allow everybody to understand and say, we're okay with that.
That's the motion is, but we
To
could.
combine two of them.
Yeah, if we wanted to take it all and use it for capital.
Absolutely. But I'm just making sure that as I understand this, I want my county administrator, my attorney to confirm to me that what I'm voting on is what I'm understanding. The second item, and you've combined both of them, and I apologize for making that so confusing. The second item is that it was also written in a separate fund that we have that was called the disaster relief account, that fund would never dip below $3.3 million. Because of Hurricane Irma, not because of mismanagement by this board, but because of Hurricane Irma actually making us have to utilize those funding sources to pay the debris removal contractors and the consultant that monitored, which is another law that we had to abide by. We are now under that $3.3 million threshold tremendously, AKA
But that was the
zero.
purpose of it, right?
That's exactly,
That's the
yes,
purpose.
that,
So what
that,
are we doing
actually,
to-
it wasn't the purpose of it. The fact is, Ms. Byrd, and I would love for Ms. Butler to argue this point, the fact is that the people that sat in our chairs years ago, when we were going through good times, squirreled some money away. They had a woman that was in her seat, and then the entire time that I've been on this board, she has pounded us about being frugal with our money and do not spend it on stupid stuff. And I think that we've been mindful of that the entire time that I've been here.
It was at 5 one time.
I think it was even more than that.
That was more than that.
Yeah, it was right at 8. It was right at 8.
Then we went to 5, and then we went to 3.
I would just argue this, though. I would say it a little bit differently, Commissioner Harris. Then the bottom fell out of the world economy, and we had to balance the budget without touching the taxes and hold the rope with everyone. And we've gotten to a point where it was below that. It went way down. We exasperated almost $5 million. And now Hurricane Irma hit. And so then we luckily we had those funds so that we weren't completely dependent, or we didn't have to go to market like some counties did. Some counties they had to loan themselves. They had to go out and find a way to be able to pay those consultants. And so I think this is great. Hopefully FEMA is going to be able to pay us back. Hopefully it's not going to be longer than 18 months, but I think it will be. And then I think that we need to be mindful of the fact that as values start to return and we can keep our millage the same and we have extra dollars to work with, we need to try to put as much money as we can to the constituents of this county to make sure that we build that back up.
We agreed as a board to put it back in.
Yes, sir. And a couple of years, y'all did. A couple of years, I think I was even a part of that a couple of times, where we took excess funds that Ms. Butler and a couple of the tax collector and them, and we put it back to try to balance things, but it's just,
Need
it
to
over
build
caught
it
up
back
with us.
up to at least 5.
And that's the purpose of it, but if you did not have it,
We'd be in trouble.
yeah, you'd be in trouble.
Yes,
So-
ma'am. And our millage would have been at 10 quite some time ago. So,
I'd just like to vote, if that's all right.
Well, and just, the motion only related to the small county surtax. My memo also addressed the amendment that's needed to the disaster emergency fund ordinance that we need to amend as well. You can do a separate vote if you want, but I just want to be clear, we got two issues.
okay, I make a motion to approve
But did we?
both of those
We haven't
items.
voted yet.
Need to amend the motion.
I need to amend the motion to
Right.
take that into consideration. Yes,
So
sir.
you want me to amend my motion?
Right.
Okay, I'll amend my motion.
Do option one, if you
Yes,
just want to
sir.
make it short.
Option one.
Yes, sir.
Why did you tell me that?
We have a second on that?
Second amendment.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item, we're gonna have to push off till the next meeting, August 14th. It's not ready, but you don't need to take any action. And I do have one other little item. It's not an action item, but just a briefing item for you to be aware of. At an earlier meeting, you did vote to put the economic development ad valorem tax exemption authority issue on the ballot. And so that's proceeding. So just be aware on the primary ballot that's going to go out in the, people are going to be doing their early voting on here in a couple weeks and then going to the polls for the county referendum on the economic development ad valorem tax exemption authorization is on there for people to vote on. So just reminding you that's on there. You may be getting some questions of what's this about.
Can we see I don't remember seeing the language or anything.
God, I'm so glad you're saying it. I'm embarrassed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we had it on a couple different agendas and it,
HenryElections.org, and it's a link on our front page.
Okay.
You can read it.
Well, what,
Give
you
us
mean
a
Reader's
brief-
Digest version?
It's the authority for you to give the, not the ad valorem tax exemption break.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
for
Oh, that,
economic-
okay.
I
I
remember
understand what you're
talking about it, I
talking
just
about
never
now.
seen the language,
Okay,
so we
okay.
can check it out on there.
I
yeah,
didn't
so
know
that
that.
renewal, it's a 10-year, it's
Yes.
only allowed for 10-year
I know
periods.
exactly what you're talking about now.
Been
Okay.
approved twice by the voters, but
Yes,
it's
sir.
expired now.
Yes, sir. Okay. It's just something in the war chest to be able to have as
An
we want to
option
court.
encourage
Yes, sir.
economic development.
Yes, sir. Okay. I was like, man.
Okay, before we move into the public hearing,
Right
Ms.
about
Butler
that.
has something we need to look at with her, please.
Okay, that we received bills to the tune of $682,738.25 for the Thompson Consultant on the Hurricane Irma project. We don't have the money in the disaster relief fund, so I'm suggesting that we take it from the waste fund and do a due to, due from clause. When FEMA pays us back, then we can pay waste collection back.
So move.
Second.
Second by, motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone in the public wish to address the board at this time? Public hearings, anybody?
Mr. Vaughn, you don't have nothing to say?
Okay. Do we have any other reports or other business? No? Business by district, Mr. Swindle.
I'd just like to ask the board, I have a constituent that's calling me, and this goes to the school bus stop and the ordinance that the county has, that we have a 2,500-foot minimum residence distance from those school bus stops. I have a resident in a portion of my district that has some health conditions and family needs to move back in. Said family needs to move back in to help be a part of the caregiving process. One of those family members has those charges against the said person, and they're like 300 feet shy of making the 2,500 feet. I know that there has been some precedents, even since I've been on the board, that we have not wavered from that. I don't want to represent the board's stance, and so I didn't feel comfortable telling them we wouldn't without talking. We would or we wouldn't, and so I'm asking you as a board: do we have any? Does anybody have any appetite to revisit that, to lower that, to make it so that folks in this county can live closer to a bus stop with charges?
Is that school board policy?
I believe it's county. It's Henry County.
It's a county policy.
Because usually they'd call the school board and they'd say, no, the bus is doing this, that.
When they've done that, but we set the distance from that bus stop, and so it's our policy.
Well, the way I feel on that, if it's a handicap, then we need to make exceptions for the handicap.
Well, we can't. My understanding is we can't make exceptions. It's a total ordinance change. So we cannot do individual
Well,
exceptions.
I'm not for ordinance change, but I'd be for a special exception change by,
Can't even do that?
you can't, well then what do we
We have to
Change.
change the entire ordinance. In other words, we would have to say, we can say 2,000 feet for everybody, or leave it the same, or in other words, it's got to be fair and equitable across the
Then
board.
that way the bus will be stopping
No, it has nothing to do with the bus stop. It has to do with how far apart
how
that
far
they,
apart it is.
well, no, how far that this said person can live from the bus stop.
Oh, okay, I got
That's
you.
what the whole
The
issue
person
is.
being a sexual offender or sexual predator. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, we need to
Took
leave
me a
it.
while to understand that.
I'm
I
sorry.
think he said that in his initial.
Yeah, he was
Sorry.
He didn't say that.
trying to find a nice
I
way to
thought it
put
was
it.
a handicap.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, man. I was like,
The
I'm
sex
so
offender
confused.
thing, we need to leave it alone.
I would have to know, a lot more details,
Yeah, I'm not.
before I want to touch something like that, Commissioner Swindle,
About the
because
case, you mean? Well.
about any of these cases.
Right. Well, it does,
I've had this exact issue
Yeah.
broached at least 3 different times
Right.
since
And
my
so-
tenure.
the individual, I'm not interested in doing anything individually. I think as a board, we just have to look at, and we do have a very aggressive stance on that, and I'm okay with that. And I don't mind being the most aggressive in the state if we are, and that's fine. The real question is do we want to maintain that, or do we want to lessen it to make it easier for folks to live in Henry County that has those charges? If we don't, as a board, then that's fine.
Yes, sir.
And I'll represent my part of that on the board.
Yes, sir.
So, that was brought to me. I didn't want to make the decision on my own. I'm asking my,
And it was brought to my attention too, and also because in the, District One area, nobody in Harlem, can't live there because of the bus stops. So, and that was,
A sexual predator
Right, so-
cannot reside in Harlem due to the volume of bus stops
Right.
and the
Right.
the density.
right.
it's a half a mile radius basically is what it is.
Gotcha.
And there's a bus stop within every half a mile radius.
Gotcha.
That's fine.
And,
Um,
and the point that
Let me
discussion
correct
earlier
them.
brought up today was that that's what we're doing. We're supposed to be protecting children at bus stops, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And so, we just need to look at our stance on how far that distance is the real question.
Yes, sir.
And I know someone was grandfathered in when I checked it, but that was in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I kind of side with Commissioner Harris. I 100% side with Commissioner Harris' thoughts on this as of right now. I would love to see what other counties are doing, but as it relates to this one, it's kind of one of those ones I kind of wave that as a banner of pride of knowing that it is a bit of an uncomfortable environment for a sexual predator to reside in Hendry County, because now that may be me displaying a very blissfully ignorant stance because I just haven't had much of an understanding of this, but I'm also completely anti-pain management clinics, and I want to make it as uncomfortable as possible for those to exist in Henry County as well. So there's a couple of things, but I think all those are issues to be vetted. And, if you know of a district that has a high volume or something, I know I have heard this exact issue in Broward and Dade, where they have a high volume of those people that cannot find a residence anywhere. So they're living under overpasses, and then if you really look at where they're at from an overpass standpoint, but how much is that exposing your people anyway?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is something to be discussed.
But I remember when it came up, and we adjusted it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you've answered my question. That's fine.
Amazing from
It is.
cradle to grave how we deal with these issues.
That's right.
And none of them
That's
are light, really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Swindle? Ms. Bird?
I really don't have much to say today, but, there is a community meeting, on the 30th. Brenda Hoops will be there, Robert Coker will be there, so I'd like to invite the public out to the community meeting. Other than that, everything else
Are they
is fine.
advertised?
They are
They're
advertised.
advertised, so we all can go?
Yeah.
August 30th? July 30th, I'm sorry. July 30th.
July the 30th, and they are advertised. It's already been put out. At 6 o'clock.
Anyway, I did take my tour of the jail, and it's got leaks all over the jail, everywhere you go, leaking. And they did do a good job cleaning up the kitchen and painting and taking care of that. But anyway, we got problems in there that we're gonna have to address. And are we gonna have somebody walk through that with a checklist inside of the jail? To do a checklist on repairs.
That list is probably as long as Alan Bowen's left leg. He already has that list and knows knows what needs to be done.
And he probably better go back between now and then. It's
He
probably
stays in constant contact with the sheriff's office on all maintenance and repair items for both what is the sheriff's responsibility and the county's responsibility. And basically, Mr. Bowen just needs financial resources to be able to pull the trigger.
And we're working on the construction loan.
Yes, sir. The request for bids went out, I believe it was a week ago. We've already had some correspondence with other interested lending institutions, including Florida Association of Counties. So we're hoping to have those results here very soon, so we can give you a recommendation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Turner?
Ms. Byrd, where did you say the community meeting will be held?
At the Civic Center.
Okay. Commissioner Swindle, could you give us an education update on the Glaze Henry County Training Facility?
I do know, I spoke with Superintendent Bass today, and he is further engaged with ITEC and Immokalee, and he invited me to a meeting coming up next week, and we're going to start honing in on some specific programs that they possibly can get spawned up there. So although we don't have a start date of anything particular going on, the discussion is getting closer and closer and more productive than it's ever been. He is working with Glades County to try to get the memorandum of understanding or whatever the legal ease has to be, so that as a school district that they can legally and they can do what has to be done to spawn programs up there. So we are in constant working with them. I am working on some other grant applications that's going to help further fund students and programs, and so we are working together and trying to make those happen in a way that braves well with everyone, so that we can all exist and not have to battle over programs or students or teachers, so that we can work together and have a regional training facility that meets regional needs. So it is work coming along.
Commissioner Swindle, I know you had a request into the task force to help fund a position. I don't know if it was for the county or for Henry CHS specific. We were unable to meet that request, but there's still, I think, different variables out there. We would like to, from a letter writing campaign, if that would help maybe spur some interest from the Community Foundation or Workforce or any of the other entities that are out there. I will tell you that my company privately, if you could show us a volume of students that you think would go through that, we would be receptive to underwriting that as well. And I would like to help challenge some other companies that, if you're telling me that a person's going to be able to walk through those doors and come out the other end a year, 6 months or so out of there and know what some of the blue collar jargon that they need to have to be able to operate in my world or an HVAC world or just a carpentry or concrete or general equipment operator, I think that serves well. So I'd love to help with that still,
Okay.
if you'll give me the opportunity.
No, it's a new construction program we're working on.
Attorney Lab, I think it's next month that we're going to be hearing about the potential of us to be able to open up bids associated with our own people potentially doing debris removal and monitoring and all of that stuff.
Right, the
Okay.
bid document went out, I think it was July 9th, was it posted? Yeah, I believe it was about July 9th, it went out on or 10th, it was a Friday.
Okay.
Sorry about the exact day, but it was the Friday of about a week and a half ago that it went out.
13th, maybe?
Yes, it went out then, and it's opening on August 9th.
Okay.
And then so it'll come and then there's a review committee that will rank, and then it'll come to you August 28th.
And y'all have any idea of how many respondents, or did y'all know?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. I don't think we've got any yet. The deadline's August 9th, so.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all for the time, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in August.
I'm good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Mission adjourned.